Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. I am going to talk about using Boolean operators, which are really the key, the foundation of building a search that returns the kind of information that you're hoping to get back when you are searching FSTA. So they're absolutely key to shaping a good search, and it's interesting to do it on the Ovid platform because it's very systematic. So we'll get to that in a minute, but first I want to go over a couple of things. What I'm going to cover today is how to use AND to narrow and focus your search, how to use OR, the Boolean operator OR, to broaden it, and then we're going to touch upon using NOT as a tool that you can use not within your search, but to understand the results that you're getting when you're searching and refine it and make your search better. We'll also look really briefly at the overlap between OR and truncation, which are two different techniques for broadening a search, and then also the overlap between phrase searching and the AND Boolean. So those are both techniques for focusing a search, and so they are related to each other. So first of all, though, we're going to look at a kind of diagram that might be familiar to you all. This is the way that many librarians try to make visual and make concrete what the various Boolean operators are doing for you. So the three we're going to look at today are AND, OR, and NOT. And, as I said, is one that narrows it. So when you connect two search terms with AND, so if you searched connected aroma and chocolate, then you are in essence telling the database, FSTA, that you need every result that you get back from your search to contain the word aroma and also to contain the word chocolate. OR broadens. So when you connect two search terms with OR, you're saying that either one is okay. So you might have a search texture or mouthfeel, and that's saying that you are happy to have results that have the word texture in them. You're happy to have results that have the word mouthfeel in them. And if they happen to have both texture and mouthfeel in them, that's absolutely fine. So you're using two different words to capture basically one concept or something that you specify is a concept for the purposes of your search. With almost every search, you're going to end up combining ANDs and ORs. So if we look below the AND and the OR, we can see an example there. So we've got texture or mouthfeel. And then we've got a second concept that we are adding to that search with AND, bread. And that means that all of our results will have either the word texture or the word mouthfeel, or both of them, and the word bread. So they'll have something about the texture or the way that the bread feels in the mouth in them. Not the last one that we're going to look at, and we're going to look at more briefly, is one that removes a category of results. So you might be doing research about potatoes and you're like, I want to find stuff about potatoes, but I don't want to find stuff about sweet potatoes. So if you type potato not sweet, then any record that has the word sweet in them will not show up in your results. So you mostly don't use that for building a search because it might be that sweet is being used in a different way than you anticipated, and you will never know that if you don't see it. So mostly you'll make your searches more specific by adding additional AND terms rather than removing a NOT, but it can be a really useful tool. So now that's the end of my slides, and we're going to go to the platform. Here I have logged in to FSTA on the Ovid platform, and we have a lot of different search options here, search modes, but the one that I like most and that I think is quite useful to use a lot is advanced search. So that's where I'm going to concentrate today. And I'm going to start with a search about large birds. So I am thinking of ostriches, rheas, and emus. And then we're going to add in a second concept of eggs. So we're going to look at how to build this search. Now, chances are when you log into FSTA on the Ovid platform, if you go to advanced search, then this box, map term to subject heading, will be ticked. And that's actually really useful. That means that you're going to the controlled vocabulary. If you're not familiar with it, it can be really confusing about what's happening, but it's powerful and it's something that I like to use a lot. So we're going to start doing that. We're going to keep it ticked, and I'm going to search first for RIAs. And we can see here's the subject headings, and there it is right on the top. You can always click on the term to find out a little bit about it to make sure that it's the term that you actually want. You get the context. So here I can see it's RIA, that it's kind of poultry, and more specifically, I could search about RIA meat, but I'm not interested in this case in results about RIA meat. I just want it about RIAs. And so I'm going to keep this ticked where it is and click continue. And then my search has got search results down here, but my search appears up here in my search history. So it may be that on your interface, your search history is below the search box, but it can be either place, but it always says search history, and you can always open it up and see what it is. Now, the word RIAs has a slash next to it, and that's a visual indication that it is the subject, the controlled vocabulary term. So I can tell that's what I searched. So I'm going to go ahead and untick map term to subject heading, and then I'm going to do a keyword search so that is searching in more fields than just the subject terms. So RIA, and now I'm going to truncate this so that I get RIA or RIAs. So, and search. And you can see actually that got more results than my subject term did, 67 as opposed to 8. And this happens sometimes it's the same. It can be very variable. Occasionally the subject term has a higher number than the free text one, depending on how it's formulated. But it's good practice on the Ovid platform to search the subject, the controlled vocabulary term, and the free text one. And we can see here, we can tell that this one is our free text keyword because it says MP, and then it tells us which fields MP, that's stands for multipurpose, and the multipurpose fields are title, abstract, heading words, commercial names, and original title. And so that's a really good way to do sort of a subject search. So here we've got RIA and RIA in two different formats, and we want to combine them with OR. So we're trying to make this RIA circle concept a little bit bigger to be all combined together. And so now we know that we've got quite a comprehensive circle of all the research that is about RIAs in the database here. So we can do the same thing with ostrich. So I reticked the map term to subject heading, and here I've got ostrich, and I'm going to do the same thing. And again, ostrich, truncated, and combine. So I've got a second block of my search that is the ostriches one. And I can expand this so that we can see it as it builds. And emu. And tick that. And then we could type emu and truncate it again. But if we do, I will do it. we get considerably a bigger number of results. And if we start scrolling down, we'll see, oh, that also gives us results about emulsion, and emulsion doesn't have anything to do with emus. And so I am going to take out that line of my search, and I'm going to change it to emu or emus. So you can do that if that's better than truncating. And then that gets it more specifically so that it actually is about, the birds instead of about emulsion. So then I'm going to do the same thing and combine these with or. So, and then I can combine all three of my groups about the birds with ors. And when I do that, then all my results will contain either ostrich. I'll open them up so you can see that they really do, or ostriches, or emu, or emus. And then also there will be ones that contain rheas, and it's quite possible that they will contain more than one of the birds, or possibly all three of the birds. So I'm not going to make you watch me click through. There's more about ostriches. We knew that already. But let's then go back to the search and add our next concept. So I said in the beginning that it was eggs that I wanted to talk about. And so I'm going to add that. And I've got eggs. And then I'll do egg or egg without this ticked. You can see how I'm progressively building this search. So these are the same concepts. I'm adding them with or, but then I take the first concept, the birds, all grouped together here in line 10 of my search, and I take the eggs on line 13 of my search, and I combine them with and. And so this means now that these results will have both one of the birds or more than one of the birds and egg or eggs. So we can see they're not necessarily going to show up in the title because they can also be here in the abstract or in the subject headings, but we know with confidence that each of these results, if I go back to the search results, each of these 70 results that we got will have those components that we specified. So with building a search, it's always a matter of thinking about what the relationship of one term needs to be with another. I'm going to clear out this search and remove these all and start with another one. So I want to do another search for you that really concentrates a little bit more on and, which is about food safety and how to inhibit the spread of salmonella within poultry that can be spread through their feed. So that has quite a few concepts. If I start my search here, so one thing to know about using the Ovid platform is that when you type two words together, then they are read by the database as a phrase. So they will always stay together like that as food safety, unless you put an and in between them. So, but I don't want an and in between them because I want that phrase of food safety to capture that concept here. So in this case, food safety, there's not really food safeties. So food safety is it. So I can go ahead and take a shortcut and tick this food safety as subject heading. and at the same time combine with or. So you can see here's combine with or food safety as the multi-purpose search. And just get it all together here, and we can see that it's telling us that it's an MP or food safety. So that's quicker, and then I can move right on to my next concept, salmonella. And I can do the same thing there. So it's ticked at the top, and then down at the bottom, I have the option to add it, the multi-purpose version there. And continue. So there's my next concept. Now we had 243,000 and 31,000. If we add these together with and, then we know that our 24,000, it's about 10 times smaller than just food safety, number of results. We'll know that those all have both the concept food safety in it and the concept salmonella. But we have more concepts in this search, so poultry. So we can add the next line. And again, poultry is one where there's not really a variation on the word, so we can do this quicker version of adding it. So we can add this next line to our search, again with an and, because we want now all three of these concepts to appear. And we're getting down a little bit to 731 results. Then we could move to inhibition. So in this case, I'm not sure that I want to use inhibition as the MP, the multi-purpose search, because I want to do a little exploration around that term. So I will use inhibition as the subject heading. But here, I'll take a step out and do inhibition. And a trick is to do a search if you're just trying to figure out how it's working, is to do it in the title field, because then you don't have to open up records to see what's going on. So I'll do inhibition first, and then I'll do inhibit. So that could be different words. I think there might be different forms of this word that will be useful. Just inhibit instead of inhibition. And so I have to untick this. I have to jig to the title. So now we've got in the middle of our search line here, we've got inhibition that's truncated, and we have it where it's not truncated. So what I'm going to do is use my not to see what is it that we're getting when we truncate that doesn't include inhibition, because I know that a lot of these, that at least 7,000 of these are inhibition, but there's obviously other things that we're getting as well. So we can just go and take the bigger one, so 8 line. So this line of our search is 8, so that's all we have to type, not 7. And so the number of results that we got are really, really predictable, but we can go and see whether we want to use which form of the term is better for our search. So we've got inhibitory, inhibiting, inhibits. So all of these seem to capture the kind of meaning that will be useful, unlike the discrepancy between the meaning for emu and emulsion. So we are going to go ahead and we have to redo this. So I'm going to remove those 2 lines because we don't just want the title, but we'll do inhibit, search it. Oops. I thought that I removed these lines, but I didn't. Okay, so now I'm going to add these together with or. And then we've got one more concept for this search, feed or feeds. And so I'm going to go ahead and do this one. And because we're running out of time, I'm going to just combine them the quick way with the or. And so now I have to go through and look at it carefully and pick out each of the concepts. So I already combined food safety and salmonella. And then I had already added poultry to that, but I did not add inhibition or feeds to that. So I can add them now. So here I've got inhibition and inhibit there. And then I've got feed or feeds all in one line. And so I want to add these all together with and. And I'm ending up with a very specific 6 results, each of which have every one of those terms in them. So you can see the more terms you add with and, the more specific your search gets. I'm going to quickly just turn to one more search, but if there are any questions, then please do let me know. So the last one I'm going to do is looking at how you use these Boolean operators to build it when it's a little bit trickier. So I'm going to clear this search out. And the last search that I want to demonstrate is one that is about finding systematic reviews about childhood obesity. So I'm going to start with the map to subject heading term ticked and start with obesity. And right away, I see, oh, there's obesity, and then there's also pediatric obesity, and clearly childhood obesity is pediatric obesity. If I open it up, it's useful because I can see that pediatric obesity spelled this way is used for, so it also includes all the results that have this spelling, pediatric obesity. So I am going to add that term to my search. But pediatric obesity, it's a specific phrase, but for me to do a search that is the keyword search about it, I'm going to split it into 2. So pediatric and then obesity. So first I'll do the obesity part. And I'll just truncate it there. And I'll leave it there. And then for the childhood or pediatric, I'm going to use child truncated. So that's child or children or childhood, or pediatric, or pediatric spelt the other way. So I'm trying to capture all 3 of those at once. And what I need to do now is combine these, not with an or, but with an and, because I want all my results to have both the concept obesity and the concept of child or pediatric or what have you. So I'm going to need those to intersect with each other. So that's that row, but then I'm going to also add this result where they're already intersecting with each other. And I'm going to add them together with or. And then I have my other concept, which is systematic review. And I'm going to truncate that so it can be review or reviews, search it, and combine pediatric obesity part that I built and the systematic review part. and I combine them with and because I want both concepts to be in my results. And then when I do, we can see that we are getting lots and lots of results that are systematic reviews about children's obesity. So I see there's maybe a question that's the explode. So the explode, I'll go into the subject heading. So that's a really good question. So I will do it with systematic review. So to get into there, I tick the button, and I must have I spelt systematic review wrong, but look, there's an in there with reviews. So I can go and select systematic reviews. Systematic reviews is, we can see if we click on this information under the scope note, it's a term that we've only just added in November 2021. So it looks like, if I go back, it looks like there are only maybe 1,000 or about 2,000 systematic reviews in the database. That's not true. There are, since November 2021, that many that have been indexed, but there are many, many, many more that were added to the database before that. So that's one reason why it's often a really good idea to do both the controlled vocabulary and the free text keyword search. So when we look at a term, you can see the broader terms and you can see the related terms. And if we go up a level, so for instance, if we go to study design, then we can often see that there are narrower terms. So in this case, there's study design and there's a whole lot of new study designs. These were all added to the database at the same time as new index terms or new controlled vocabulary terms. So what the explode button does is it would add to our search both everything that had been indexed with study design and everything that had been indexed with any of the narrower terms, and not just the narrower terms that you see on the page in front of you, but if like animal models had something more specific underneath it, it would include that too. And so it can go down sometimes 6 levels of narrower terms, maybe even more. So the hierarchy of these terms gets more and more specific as it goes on. So there are times when it's really helpful to include everything. So in this case, I think maybe you wouldn't want to search study design and then all these different kinds of study designs, because probably you would be looking for, you know, a specific one. So maybe human studies or maybe systematic reviews. So this is something where it's the searcher's discretion about whether it's useful. But if I do a different search or a different term, so if I do like fish, and we go into fish here, then it may well be that you want to use not just fish itself, but you want to get all the seawater fish and the freshwater fish, and then also like all the different kinds beneath them. Also just a really comprehensive search for fish. So if I go back up to fish, if I tick explode there, then it won't just search those, but will search. Oops. I don't know what happened there. Fish and explode. Oh, I think I need to go back to search. I think it's my going back and forth there that's making it not behave properly. So I'll just do it from this view, explode. And now it's done it. So you can see that if we take that point of fish on the hierarchy, that there are 55,000 results, and some of those are very specific kinds of fish underneath there. So it really depends on how comprehensive you want the search to be, and also the nature of the subject term. But the beauty of the Ovid platform is that it does go all the way down the whole hierarchy. So if I go, for instance, to processing, which is a pretty high level term, then, well, I could go even broader, more broadly to technology. Technology is the broadest term in this branch of the hierarchy. So it doesn't have a broader term, but it's got all of these different kinds of technology. So I will go to processing. So then if I go to processing, that step down, then I can see there's all these different types of processing. So I could go to a specific one, or I could say I really want to find out everything about how, so I can explode it, get all the different kinds of ways that all the different kinds of fish can be processed. And the reason I can tell that that's exploded in both cases is this EXP before the term. So that's my indication that it's not just searched the single subject heading, but both. And so I could combine those with and I'm sure I still have an awful lot of results. So it just depends on the nature of how comprehensive you want your search to be, and if the term is suitable for an explosion or not. So I see there's another question about what are the main databases and search engines that Ovid has access to. So I really know the most about FSTA, but Hannah's going to step in.
Absolutely, yes. So the answer to the question essentially is it will depend on the institution that you're associated with and the subscriptions that they've signed up for. So it's a very specific question about what you in particular may have access to through Ovid.
Yeah, the main ones I know, it tends towards scientific and medical ones, because this really specific way of being able to control your search is very helpful for these disciplines. So there's, for instance, PsycInfo is available on it, Medline's available on it. I believe CAB abstracts can be available on it, but Hannah's absolutely right that it depends on what your institution has subscribed to. The last thing I'll say about the different databases on the platform is, regardless of which one you use, the basic searching function will be the same. The details will be slightly different. For instance, there are more fields in some of them that are included in the MP, and that is all very discipline specific. So which fields make sense to help the researcher find the information that you need, but it's always spelled out for you when you do that type of search. But they all have the explode, they all will have the bulk of the searching that you do for combining your ands and ors concepts here in the search history, etc.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Carol. Thank you to everyone for joining us for today's webinar on using Boolean operators to power your FSTA search on the Ovid platform. And I hope you've gained a better understanding of the FSTA search process.
Thank you, everybody.